Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of East Got Game, an unofficial podcast about the NBL 1 East competition for 2025. My name's Jacinta, and with me, as always, is co-host extraordinaire repping an absolutely epic t-shirt today. It's Lucky France. Hey, Lucky, how are you?
I'm great, Squin. How are you doing on this fine Tuesday evening?
Oh, look, pretty good, thanks. I had a very early dinner. I've got my watermelon-flavored electrolyte, and I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get stuck into round one of NBL 1 East because we've been chomping at the bit.
Haven't we just?
Well, tell me about your first round, though. I mean, for you, you still get to live and breathe NBL 1 East in the flesh, and you had your first weekend of commentating at the Shark Tank. Tell me all about it.
Yeah, I did have my first game of the first two games of the season at the Shark Tank. Sutherland taking on Penrith in the crosstown clash. We had one win and one loss. So the women went down to Penrith, low-scoring affair, whilst the men's game was an absolute barn burner, finished 81-78 in the Sharks' favour. Penrith pushed them all the way. I think at half-time, there was 16 lead changes and only 3 ties. So it got 1 point ahead, and then they would just trade 2-point baskets or trade 3-point baskets. So the lead was back and forth throughout. So it was a very intense start to the season.
Very nice, very nice. I would much prefer that than something mediocre. Mediocre is not what we do here in NBL 1 East. I mean, sometimes we have our off days, but doesn't everyone?
Yes. We're usually pretty good, though.
We're usually pretty good. And now that round one in the competition has tipped off, we will be back to our regular programming of sorts here for East Got Game. So in this episode, we will be reviewing what was our personal pick of Game of the Week. We'll also be having an athlete interview, our very first one for 2025, as well as some news and gossip and the return of All-Star 5. We'll come back for our first episode. But before we get stuck into it, Lockie, tell us about that awesome t-shirt you're wearing.
So this is a Yukon Women's Basketball 2016 National Champions 4 in a row t-shirt. I'm not a Yukon fan by any stretch, but I had disposable income, and you can't argue with the history of a team going 4 in a row. So, and it is tangentially related to NBL 1 East because Alex Delaney and St. Francis Brooklyn played against Yukon in the first round of the 2015 NCAA tournament, where Alex was at times tasked with guarding and being guarded by Brianna Stewart.
I mean, I love the place that you took us there, that you brought it back to NBL 1 East. I love that lateral thinking. Very well done. And what great bragging rights for Alex Delaney to say that she's even been on the same court as Brianna Stewart, but to be having to be guarded by her, that's a compliment of the highest, I think.
I think so. The world's most famous lover of chips on a stick, Brianna Stewart.
Yeah, correct. We've seen it with our own eyes. We can confirm. All right, let's get stuck into it then. We're going to start with the results of the week. I'm just going to share this screen. And I'll kick us off with round one. I'll kick us off with the women's results from round one. So it started with the Centre of Excellence hosting Manly-Warringah Seagulls, going on the segue of Alex Delaney, and Manly-Warringah getting that one 80-65. Bankstown Bruins hosted the North Bears, going down 52-79. Sutherland Sharks at the Shark Tank in what looks like quite an arm wrestle and a low-scoring affair, losing 46-55. Hornsby Ku-ring-gai absolutely smashing the start of the season with a huge win, 90-79 over the Crusaders. Illawarra Hawks were 56 and not strong enough for the Maitland Mustangs with 80 points. Newcastle Falcons hosted the Sydney Comets in a convincing win, 83-51. And would you like to take us through the men's results on screen, Lockie, that were tipping off on the Saturday?
I certainly can. So first up was Centre of Excellence defeating Manly 84-56. So that was a big statement of intent from the COE boys. Bankstown hosted Norths and got up 86-70 without Jalen Galloway. So that was a big one. Albury-Wodonga defeated Canberra 95-87. Central Coast got up 84-71 over the Hornsby Ku-ring-gai Spiders. Claris Amir with a big 26 and Garrick Young excellent on his NBL 1 East debut. As I mentioned earlier, Sutherland getting up 81-78 over Penrith. Shout out to young Bailey MacArthur, who already looks like he's going to be an integral part of the rotation for Sutherland this year. Todd Blanchfield, with his big 31-16, helped Illawarra to a 96-88 win over Maitland as they too laid down an early marker. Sydney Comets travelled up to Newcastle and got a win at 71-67 with Anthony Mundine playing all 40 minutes and leading the way for Comets. Canberra knocked off Albury-Wodonga 96-75 with Will Mayfield and Glenn Morrison both passing 20 points, but Matt Gray, 22 on debut for Albury-Wodonga. And then on the Sunday, well, Bankstown brought back to earth somewhat as COE, two big wins, getting up 102-65, including a 28-4 fourth quarter. So the youngsters, well, they've got it tough. They've got to play 10 double headers this year in amongst all their national team and whatever other commitments they have. But they've got off to a very good start of the COE boys.
And rounding off the weekend for the women's competition, similarly, the Bankstown Bruins hosted the Centre of Excellence and going down 61-86. So, yeah, a huge weekend especially for the COE. But especially, and we'll get stuck into talking about Bankstown Bruins probably a little bit later. So any surprises from the results of round one for you, Lockie?
Perhaps in the women, I want to say Hornsby getting over Central Coast is a pretty big result. But, I mean, it is because of who we know Central Coast have. But I think it's just it's more showcasing that Hornsby have gone out and secured some really good young players. I mean, Lucy Mead, 19 points in 19 minutes. So, I think we all knew she had something like that in her locker, but to shoot 8 of 9 from the field is massive. So I think that was probably one of the bigger turn-ups for the books. I know people will say Sutherland losing to Penrith is big in the women's, but if you get the chance to watch Jordan Vasquez, you are playing with Mia Hyder and Zoe Jackson there as well. You may not think so in a few weeks. And as for the men, I mean, I think it wasn't so much surprises as maybe opinions starting to form early, like that Illawarra-Maitland result, Canberra putting Albury-Wodonga away by 20, and then Bankstown were up by 30 odd before it got back to 16 against North. So, and as we said and keep saying, Penrith just keep looking better as time goes on. They look better last year than they did the year before, and they look properly good against Sutherland.
Very nice. I think, similarly, I was surprised about the low-scoring game between Sutherland Sharks and Penrith Panthers in the women's competition. And then on the other side of that, I was surprised by the 20-point deficit between Albury-Wodonga Bandits and the Canberra Gunners in the men's side. But otherwise, I'm just really happy that some of the things we were hoping for in our preview episodes of rosters in the season, such as the Bankstown Bruins men, and both Penrith women and Penrith men have started to come to fruition. Like you said, they already are looking a lot better than last season, and they're already notching a win or coming very close to win. I went Penrith Panthers men, 3 points, within 3 points of Sutherland Sharks, who have been in the finals the last, well, I think since the NBL one's inception, is pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I mean that Sutherland side, it looks good as well, especially Bailey MacArthur, 16 points in 21 minutes. He's just, he played 40 minutes all season last year. He's just gone 16 in 21 minutes. So Sutherland are looking pretty healthy, and they got a win against a team that's going to look, they're going to be a handful this year, Penrith.
Yes, that's what we like to see. Get in there and ruffle some feathers.
Yeah.
All right, are we ready to head into our game review?
I think we certainly are.
Let me try out this new sound effect. Very good. Oh, it's happened. Oh, it just keeps going. It sounds like Loz Nicholson making all of her free throws. That's what it sounds like to me.
She was a perfect 10 of 10 at the line last season.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Or should I say, going on segues, should I say that this sound is the sound of the Bankstown men going 13 from 13 against the North Bears this weekend, because the game that Lockie and I decided to review for round one was just that. Bankstown Bruins versus the North Bears at the Bears' lair. The Bruins' lair, I beg your pardon, in the men's competition. Lockie, I'm going to go to you first. I certainly have my notes of what worked well for each team, what perhaps they need to improve for next time, and how I think Bankstown got the win against North. How did you see it?
I think throughout the game even when North were hanging with Bankstown in the early stages, it always looked harder for North to score than it did for Bankstown to score. Bankstown did a really good job of bringing doubles when they were supposed to. It looked like they were really locked in defensively on the scout. And this was a game where the young fellas for Bankstown really stood up. And we can see it in the stats with Charlie Macbeth leading the scoring by an absolute mile for Bankstown. But there were times when, I know just Caleb was on the call, he mentioned, them extending the lead with Kadee off the court. But it wasn't that Kadee went off the court and Walford and Blankley just took over and made it about them. All the young guys got involved, took advantage of the opportunity presented to them. And I think that's one of the good parts about having a 20-player roster, is that the players that are getting minutes have earned them in training. And I think that was borne out in the way that Bankstown played. Everyone there looked really hungry. I liked Gun Majak because no Nate Hightower. And I think Gun Majak in the early stages was, if you throw him in there up against, someone like Hunter Goodrick or Lewis Holy, who's ready to just absolutely eat people for breakfast. And he hung with them. He got blocks. He had 4 blocks for the game. But I really think this was won by the Bankstown young players more, and maybe not more than, but as much as their stars. The stars got them off to a good start. And then when the young players played through the middle, second unit, things just kept rolling on.
Oh, and you speak about Gun Majak, who had 4 blocks. He opened his game with a block.
Yes.
Like the first defensive possession was Gun Majak with a big block. And I was like, oh, this is making a statement straight away. But like you said, Bankstown Bruins offensively getting it done with their youth. when you go through the box score, you look at the box score and you're like, all right, Bankstown won comfortably by 16 points. You headed down the box score to see who had an outstanding game, and you see 7, 10, 9, 10. Whoa, 21, 4, and 4 at 58.33% from Charlie Macbeth. Macbeth. I have to remind myself, Shakespearean play. He looked really confident in this game. He looked really locked in. Maybe it's a transference of his recent. He was at under 20s recently. Am I correct?
Oh, you're pushing me now.
Well, at least some kind of junior representation. And he's just signed with Pro Mondo Sports Agency as well. It was announced this morning, so that's exciting. The agency that has the likes of Damian Martin and Adam Stanger on their roster of agents. But I digress. Yeah, it was. I agree as well. I also noticed that the Bankstown Bruins were certainly locked in to their defensive assignments as well. We mentioned Majak with 4 blocks, but very, very active in the second line of defense, knowing where Hunter Goodrick was at all times, very quick to the double and very quick to recover. I think that they essentially swarmed North on any kind of dribble penetration. So in your opening statement, when you said that North looked like they were just struggling to get a score and Bankstown made it look so easy, for me, the difference was their second line of defense in each team. Bankstown were really strong. It almost felt like they had more than 5 players on the court. And whereas North's second line of defense was just torn apart, easy getting beaten on the dribble. There was miscommunication in the second line, lots of miscommunication as well on some of the back screens, either in play in the half court or on the baseline and sideline out of bounds, and just tearing holes, getting some lovely dishes. Hence why they had 21 team assists for this game as well.
2-5 for North.
5 for North, exactly.
And I think that talking about the second line of defense was shown, I think in the first 3 or 4 minutes. Matthew Wacher, dribble penetration, spin move, and then that's a spin move from Matty Wacher. He's basically just spin guy the guy, up he goes, basket. And there's just someone right there.
A wall of dark blue jerseys.
Yeah.
Like I felt suffocated watching it, let alone having to play against it.
Right. That was when I first noticed. So I thought, all right, Matty Wager was going to go. And he did it twice. And both times, he was, I think he put up a tough shot on one of them. But, it was definitely not a day for getting, Bankstown prevented North from getting it much in the paint. Dared them to, or maybe not even dare them, because they were even good at getting out to close out on 3-pointers for a lot of the time, but forcing them to kick. And North found it tough to put the ball in the hole from the perimeter, 5 of 24 from 3. So,
yeah, and just to go off the back with what you said about Matty Wacher, and his spin move and able to penetrate. To be fair to North, they did start the game aggressively, like attacking the rim. And then Bankstown very quickly adjusted. And then I think offensively, North's response to that was to get it into Goodrick. And that, again, worked for a short period of time. But then it all dried up. So like you said, they had to rely on outside shooters. I felt like every time it went into Goodrick, it started to get really predictable. And then people weren't moving off the ball to be a second option for when Goodrick started to get double teamed. Then you got people on the perimeter like your Lewis Holeys having to put up threes. And no disrespect to Lewis Holey, but he's traditionally known to be playing on the inside. And his 3-point percentage in his NBL 1 career is around 27%. So he's probably not ideally the guy. I think he only took 2, but that's the kind of options that North were getting. I didn't feel like they were getting their other scorers in the best position. Like they weren't really playing for their offensive strengths, and people weren't getting in other positions to be able to score.
Yeah, 100%. Robbie Moore shot one. He had 6 3-point attempts. He was 1 of 6, but it didn't feel like many of them were when, as we mentioned, like double kick or, getting an option later in the possession. I know a couple stand out, where he's just, it's either thong around the perimeter or he's just walking in, and, that's the option he takes. It's a big spread of 3-point shooters, and not many players taking a lot of them. So, you would expect if they were able to find the option they wanted more often, 1 or 2 players would have at least outstanding attempts, even if they didn't actually hit many.
Yeah, you mentioned points in the paint as well earlier. You would kind of expect a lot of points in the paint given that they have Holy and Goodrick, who, by the way, is huge.
Oh, my second note is Goodrick is built different.
So built with that whole like basketball or general sporting colloquialism now of saying he built different. That it's for people like him.
Yeah.
He is built different. He is huge. He has such a presence. And you can tell that just from watching the game on a replay on my laptop. I was like, oh my gosh, RIP anyone that has to guard him. But to Bankstown's credit, sometimes it was Majak, sometimes it was Blankley, sometimes it was a couple of other guys that were still able to body up and work as a team to really make it hard for him. But yeah, he's huge. He's got guard skills. He's got the mobility. He would definitely be picked up by an NBL team next season, surely.
Has to be. Some sort of capacity.
If he's not already doing some kind of workouts with people.
Exactly. And that's why he shot a lot of fadeaways, which I was hoping he'd just, bang a little bit more against some of these guys. But, just there was one. He had one matchup with Kadee that I thought he was going to back Jason Kadee down and just turned around for the fadeaway.
I wonder if
I was kind of intrigued by.
Well, yeah, I wonder if it's because when he was playing college, he was probably matched in terms of height, whereas here he's definitely got to be one of the tallest and broadest of the bigs in the conference. So I wonder if it's just out of habit of being able to have the strength of backing someone in and creating enough space to get a clear fadeaway shot, because it's obviously something that's his go-to move. And maybe he has to try and relearn to go, actually, I have a bit more of a height and length advantage over the rest of the conference. I can probably just go to the rack. I think it was within the first couple of minutes, he did a rip and go from one side to the other and got that really nice reverse on the left-hand side on the drive. I think after a little while, once he's, back into the habit of who he's going to be up against, we'll probably see a little bit more back to the basket and under the rim stuff.
Yeah, 100%. I think, it's just a matter of, and once, they've still got, Waiter, Goodrick, Mitchell, and Cooper Wilkes started, which I don't think happened a lot last year. So, a bit to integrate in as far as the starting lineup goes, especially compared to Bankstown, who I guess they don't have Hightower, but they've got Walford, Blankley, and Majak and Tuolata have been around the program a while. And I think Jason Kadee, just with not just the skill set he has, but the basketball IQ and the kind of player he is, he can probably fit in just about into any team and, find his best role pretty quickly.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that before we move on to talk a little bit more about Bankstown, I think the only note that I'll have for North as well was we spoke a lot about some of what they were like on offense. But yeah, defensively, I think I've touched on before that they were playing really reactive. There was no talk on the second line of defense, no talk on the screens, or very poor talk on the screens, lots of miscommunication. And then sometimes it looked like they were just sagging off in the half court, leaving shooters open, getting to shooters late. I mean, it did play in their favor a little bit sometimes when Bankstown started to get a little bit too excited, perhaps, where things were going their way beautifully. Their ball movement was great. They were finding people in perfect receiver spots, but then they went on autopilot and thought that was going to be an option all the time. And in the meantime, North was sagging off and just using their length and anticipation, able to pick off some of those passes, especially in the back end of the second quarter. I think Bankstown started to rack up some turnovers. But yeah, let's talk about Bankstown, because I think that was probably one of their minor flaws, was just their little patch of turnovers. The rest of the game, I think they were great.
Yeah, it was funny because you talk about those turnovers, because a few times they tried that pass from the wing straight, like just fire it straight across the middle to like basically the opposite block. It worked a couple of times, and there was one time that Lewis Holy almost got his hand on it, or maybe just got a hand on it and tipped it away. And I was like, all right, they're not gonna gamble on this again. And then they did it. They were like, maybe, they thought, oh, okay, well, we're still getting away with this. And they kept at it a couple more times. And that was when they did get those turnovers. It was almost telegraphed at one point. And to be fair, Holy saw the one that he just tipped coming, or just missed coming. It was just thrown at such a rate that I don't think anyone could have got their hand up in time.
And I think, to be fair, it actually looks like North had more steals in those situations than they did, because statistically they had 6 steals and Bankstown had 7. So Bankstown still even winning that statistic in this game.
Yeah, it's interesting. It doesn't really feel that way. But
I think perhaps Bankstown may have had a few more steals, or at least deflections that turned into steals in the backcourt more than the front court.
Yeah, and I like fast break points very low. So, you get a steal, but you just like, if it's right close to the basket, you're just playing in the half court anyway. So it's not really, turnovers are not all the same, and neither are steals.
Yes, that is correct. But
yes.
What I really liked about Bankstown in this game is that they demonstrated their offensive chemistry. Like we talked in the preview episodes about how they had a huge roster at the time that we spoke about their existing roster. That was before Galloway was added. And so they've got 20, 21 people. Sometimes you got to think like, is that too many people to build culture and chemistry? You want to keep everyone pretty close. How are you going to get 20 people to gel? But goodness me, this 12 that turned up today, you would think that, I think keeping that core group over the last few seasons with Bankstown, keeping Curtis Sardi as the head coach, is coming to fruition now. Their chemistry, their ball movement, their floor spots and positioning, where they were for everyone. They were there to support each other just by their positioning. Everyone was ready to be a passer. Everyone was ready to be a scorer. Absolutely no ego about it.
No, it was, they lost Hightower. They could have tried to go and find someone, but they said, no, we'll go with Majat. We'll go with Tuilada. We'll chuck Thomas Dowth in, or whoever else it is that's going to go and fill one of those front court spots, and maybe you move a few pieces around. But they put faith in the guys that have, been there, learnt the system, bought into the culture, and it delivered in spades. I mean, can we just talk about Jonah Tuilada in the third quarter?
Go for it, please.
He was just always there. He was defending well. He was always there to receive the pass in close quarters. Hands were always ready. He had 10 points for the game, and it feels like 8 of them came like that in the third quarter, all from close around the basket. He had a good touch around the basket, finishing well with the right. There were a couple of ones with the right hand where he used the basket as like protection away from the defender. And I mean, just that little spurt, it was going to give him so much added confidence. I mean, aside from getting into the starting lineup and that in and of itself is trust from the coach, but then he went and repaid it in spades when he came back out for the third quarter. It was just like he flicked the switch. It wasn't flashy plays. It was just the plays that got the job done over and over and over again.
Yeah, this team, this Bankstown team, you can tell they've all bought in. They're all supporting each other. They had demonstrated in this first game already such a good culture and understanding of each other, not only on offense, as we spoke about, but defensively too, as you just touched on. They were always up and in the backcourt. They were always rotating and talking in the front court. They were always double teaming and recovering. Like I said, it felt like there were more than 5 players on there. And it was consistent for the whole game. Even their defensive transition was consistent for the whole game. Like, they honestly made it really hard for North to get a score. And Bankstown didn't look like they didn't look bothered either. They just got on with it, which I also really, really liked. They ended up leading the entire game other than 6 minutes 18 in the first quarter. And as you mentioned in our intro for this episode, they were up by as much as 30 in that fourth quarter. They just completely out-hustled North in this game.
Pretty much. That's pretty much the best way to put it. When I saw the scorecard of the box score and the scores for each quarter, I was not expecting them to blow it out from 20 or 21 that it was at the end of 3 quarters out to 31 before North actually, reeled it in the last couple of minutes. But
I think some of my outstanding stats as well in this game are, I did start talking about points in the paint earlier, then I think I went on some other tangent. But when we were talking about second line of defense for each team and how North kind of was torn apart and Bankstown was really solid. So Bankstown able to penetrate and dish, getting some finishes off offensive rebounds or second chances. They ended up with 46 points in the paint of their 86 total, whereas North ended up with 34 points in the paint for the whole game, and 16 of that 34 were just Goodrick alone.
That's big. I mean, he's obviously going to. He put up 24 and 15, and I think we would expect him to put up numbers in that range most games. But the next highest scorer was Iggy Mitchell with 7. Waiter, and then Iggy Mitchell with 7. Waiter with 14, and Mitchell with 7. Just not a lot of scoring assistance for Goodrick. And funnily enough, I think his stat line would look even better if North had hit some threes, because I think his assist numbers would have gone up a little bit.
Yeah, or just at least I think there's too much focus on get the ball to Goodrick and then let him work. You guys can't relax. Once the ball's in, you still have to be moving off the ball, screening for each other, getting him a second option, because, it's semi-pro. People are going to be smart enough to start double teaming and stuff very early in the game. You've got to think of a plan B, C, and D. And I just don't think North had one. Or perhaps they had a plan B and that wasn't working, and then they were like, oh, well, what do we do now? Like, they didn't make a lot of conscious adjustments, especially in the second half. I was expecting them to try something different, but it was just all focus on Godric. And the guys are huge, so I get it. Yeah. But when that dries up, you've got to try something else.
Yeah, he's not helped by the fact Iggy only had 7 points. We mentioned Robbie Moore went 1 of 9 from the field and 1 of 6 from 3-point range when he's a 30+% 3-point shooter. It was interesting to see that Mikey Young only got 13 minutes when he averaged close to 5 assists last year, which was interesting. A lot of guys. Both teams went deep in their rotation and gave a lot of guys a lot of minutes. But yeah, that was just one that stood out for me, though. I thought he might get a little bit more than 13 minutes with Mikey.
Yeah, I noticed the same thing. I even had in my notes that, like you said earlier, Cooper Wilkes was starting instead of Holy, because usually Holy would be starting. And now that Waiter and Mitchell are playing for North, that has bumped Robbie Moore and Mikey Young further down. I also expected them to play a little bit more especially because, to be fair to Iggy Mitchell, he hasn't played in quite a while due to injury. So he's still got to get his confidence back, get his groove back, try and feel his way out. Whereas I thought maybe Robbie Moore and Mikey Young could have given him a couple more, had a few more minutes just to keep the engine running, given that they've been staples for this North side for a long time. But yeah, Bankstown, super impressed in this game. I'm really excited for them. They played like a team that will be in the top 8 in this game. I can't say I don't know how they played against COE though. So it's very important to preface that.
Yes.
This is really on this game, knowing that they did lose by about 20 points to COE. This game they played like, is it 20 point? I think
it was closer to 40, wasn't it? Yeah, the men's game, 102-65, COE beat Bankstown.
Yeah, look.
But they also beat Manly-Warringah 84-56 the previous day. So the COE boys are already out there taking big scalps.
Yeah. So, but Bankstown, for me, in this game against North, played like a top 8 team. If they're able to maintain this high level of defensive intensity and consistency and continue to band together on offense where they take the ego out of it, just play what's in front of them, play as a team, they will be very competitive.
Definitely. I mean, it could have, if they kept the foot down on the pedal after they went up 31, it could have been more, or maybe not more, but at least stayed around that 30-point range. So yeah, I'm not sure the 16-point margin tells the full story. Probably the margin with 6 minutes to play tells the full story.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. And tell me, if you're Coach Tom Garlip and assistant coach Matty Johnson of the North Bears, well, maybe we won't make that comparison given they're both elite coaches and we sit in our room for a podcast. But just based on this one performance of North, going into round 2, what kind of things would you be focusing on if it was up to you? Like, who do you want in that North roster to be the next best scorer other than Goodrick?
Oh, I think you want it to be Iggy Mitchell, but he's got to find his feet. I think Waiter will have much better games than what he had. I think Waiter as another option, especially driving to the basket, and just try to facilitate some looks for Robbie Moore. Get him some shots. And he had 1 of 6. I think, and that's not so much he didn't get enough shots, but give him the opportunity to get into the season kind of thing. Give him
I
an
agree.
Opportunity to have one big game.
I reckon you could probably say that for most of the North players. I felt like a lot of their attempts to score in this game was very much one-on-one opportunities. They weren't generating a lot of things for each other. There wasn't a lot of pick and roll. There wasn't a lot of 2-man game, 3-man game, backdoor cuts. There wasn't any of that kind of real team play that we saw Bankstown demonstrate. Everything was just one-on-one opportunities, hence the 5 team assists in total. I think that's something that I would like to see a lot more of from the North Bears, because they're playing Manly-Warringah Sea Eagles next round. So that's going to be a pretty rough start to the season, going 0-2.
And if you lost the Spitbridge Stout.
Correct. There's more to play for.
There is. But I mean, it's funny you mentioned North and the screens, because that was actually one thing I thought Bankstown did really well, was the way they screened and used their screens. Just a few notable times when they just clearly the player just ran their defender straight into the screener. So it wasn't just a good screen, it was used well too. There was one where there was an off ball and Andre Walford just ran, I think it was Badalassi, straight into the screener and got the backdoor cut for the easy basket. And there was another one that escapes me at the moment, but there were just 2 that really, really noticeable. But it was throughout the game.
I'm so glad you brought that example. That is exactly the same example that I've put in my notes. It was 2 minutes 44 in the second quarter. It was a out of bounds play, I'm pretty sure, or at least from an out of bounds play. I think it actually was a sideline out of bounds play.
Yeah.
Ball got to the top, and basically it was a back cut for Walford, and there was that miscommunication between Badalassi and Mitchell. Basically what happened was Mitchell, I think, was guarding Majak. Mitchell was too busy watching the ball on the other side of the court, not realizing that Majak was setting a screen and therefore couldn't say, hey, heads up, Badalassi, you got a screen on your back. So Mitchell wasn't watching, couldn't tell Badalassi. Badalassi got caught up. Way too easy backdoor play for Bankstown. Perfectly executed and well exploited.
It was chef kiss.
Yes. So good that we both had it in our notes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously a standout play. And tell me,
it's a good thing it was Walford. It meant I was sure to notice it because it was Andre Walford finishing it off.
Yeah. And you know what was really interesting as well? Like, when I say they took the ego out of it and they did it by committee, there were so many parts in the game where different people from Bankstown were all contributing in different great ways, where not one person stood out for me. I was like, oh, Walford is scoring again. Oh, that was Walford again. Like, I had to, even in that back cut, double check that was Walford, because no one person on Bankstown was drawing all their attention to themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, even like Macbeth was absolutely hooping, but not in a, I mean, it was pretty good. He finished it off in a pretty flashy way with the reverse dunk on the break, but he was good. He was just good. It was just good, solid basketball, and he was the one who finished it off on a lot of occasions. I mean, 7 of 12 from the field is pretty good.
Yeah, he didn't force any shots. He let the game come to him. He took his opportunities when they were there and shot confidently. It wasn't like he was getting every pick and roll and everything was going through him, drawing attention that way to get his 21 points. I think it was just his night. And who do you think is going to step up next round when Bankstown play Hornsby Ku-ring-gai away? Who do you think's next to step up for their 20-point game?
Just trying to think of some matchups, but
the matchups.
I would love to. I mean, it'd be cool to see Tuilata go on with what he did in that brief spurt in the last game, in this game, in the third quarter of this game. That'd be cool to see. I'd just like to see the young guys all just put up some big performances, but I also wouldn't mind seeing Dre put up 30, 35.
Well, yeah, who's going to guard Dre, do you think? I think that's where Bankstown are going to have the edge over Hornsby next round is in the backcourt, in their guards.
Yeah, I mean, when we look at Hornsby, I think, definitely their front court is their strength. And we know the Bankstown, big three as they are, or big four as they will be, probably all 1 through 3, although Galloway could probably play any position he wanted to in NBL 1, to be honest. But the 3 that are on there at the moment are more like your 1 through 3. I definitely think for Bankstown, it's probably going to be in the backcourt. But who knows? Macbeth might just go off again.
Yeah, we wouldn't be mad about that either. But I did forget that Galloway is likely to be suiting up next round. Has he confirmed that?
I'm not entirely sure. I hope so. Want him out on court? Be a lot of fun. And I would like to see. I just like to see them with all guns blazing. I mean, they lost by 35 or whatever it was to COE, and I don't think Galloway's a 35-point turnaround. But he's probably enough that they could have kept it close and changed the situation of the game.
I agree. I mean, I'll have to double check if Bankstown get to play COE again later in the season. let's circle back. We can circle back on that later. But any final thoughts on this game on our game review before we wrap up?
Well, Bankstown do play COE both home and away this season.
Very good.
Because I still have all the team fact slides saved.
Excellent. Thank you. I didn't feel confident I was going to access them quick enough.
Yes, so Bankstown do play COE. Final thoughts. Bankstown, I mean, tough to say after one game, but definitely look the goods for a top 8 spot if they've got so many players contributing that it doesn't matter if it doesn't matter. It matters less if someone's having an off day. And the North's bit to work on, definitely a bit to work on. 5 assists is not a good number, especially when you've got someone like Mikey Young on the roster. But it's not panic stations yet. They've got some elite basketball minds in there that will be going over the film and whatever else is embedded in their photographic basketball memories to bring to their game against Manly, against the arch rivals next week.
Yeah, if anyone can do it, it's certainly Coach Tom Garlop. He is arguably, he's got to be on the cusp for at least. I know that he gets called up for Aussie junior camps, but he's got to be on the cusp for starting to get some invitations to some Aussie senior camps, surely. I mean, and he's also coached a junior women's FIBA level. I mean, he did the under-19 Asia Cup team last year.
Yeah.
Winning gold medal there. So, I mean, if anyone can do it, it's Coach Garlop.
Certainly is. One of my favorite Sydney Kings of all time.
Me too. And I'm pretty sure it's the two fit in the paint boys that have Tom Garlop, Sydney Kings bobblehead to add to their studio collection. But we've got about 13 minutes until our very first guest arrives for our 2025 season. But before we do that, let's head into some news and gossip in the meantime. Now, the biggest news, I think, from our last episode was the announcement of Jalen Galloway, as we mentioned, has signed with the Bankstown Bruins. That was announced, I think, on Friday. Yes, it was announced on Friday. Typically, it was announced on the day where my NBL 1 East 2025 predictions were posted on social media. How's the timing?
How's the time? How's the
you
timing?
Can laugh. It's funny. It's funny. It's funny. Now, just another reminder that when we're asked to do these predictions, we get asked at least a week before they go online. And we can only make predictions based on the rosters that are available to us, e.g., come on NBL 1 East teams, announce your rosters a little bit earlier than the night before the first round. But also, if you guys have got intel that you feel like we need to know, you got to tell us. Because I had someone DM me saying, why did you pick so-and-so for MVP when you know that these other 2 players are about to sign up? And I'm like, I didn't know that. I literally heard those 2 rumors today. So don't come at me. Don't come at me. But I mean, my predictions were MVP, Nicole Munger and Todd Blanchfield, and champions Newcastle Falcons, Illawarra Hawks. Going with the theme here, we love a predatorial bird. We love a New South Wales country team, being a New South Wales country gal myself. All purely coincidental, can I just say? But yeah, if you've got intel, you got to tell us. But I mean, Blanchfield and Munger had a pretty great opening round, so that made me feel quite reassured.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of who else is going to get signed, they're still pretty good shouts.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. They're safe but good.
Yeah.
Now, the rumour mill was also in full swing come Friday and Saturday, Lockie. It sounds like there's another big signing about to land on NBL 1 East. What have you heard?
Me?
Do we dare say?
No, I'm not saying. I'm not saying.
Okay. I'll agree not to say either, but for those that, I'm sure a lot of people that listen to the podcast already know, but for those who don't, there is another big men's signing coming to NBL One East. Someone who has played in other conferences, has been an MVP contender in other conferences, has been a championship winner in other conferences, has recently won an accolade at the NBL level as well. Big player in terms of contribution, size, and absolute hype. And hopefully that's at least gets you enough excited or intrigued enough to start thinking about who this big men's signing is. Any gossip or rumor about any big women's signing coming to the league?
No, I haven't heard anything. I mean, we had some late announcements like Sutherland signing Lacey Hawthorne. That occurred last Wednesday or Thursday. But no, I haven't heard any news about any new women's signings.
No, I haven't either. I was just checking.
No, yeah, I legitimately have not.
And tell me what you know about the new signing for Sutherland Sharks.
So Lacey Hawthorne made her debut against Penrith on the weekend. She averaged 16 points and 9 rebounds in NBL 1 West last year, playing for East Perth. Front court player. So probably play, probably more of the 4 for the Sharks, particularly because we've got the pick and pop queen that is Maddie Norris, probably more out on the perimeter. Kind of both different types of forward. Alongside Liv White there at the 5 spot. But so she went to college at Incarnate Word, New Mexico Junior College, then Murray State, and finally grad transferred to Utah State, which has been a home of many, many, many Australian players over the years. I think 7 or 8 I can think of. So definitely a place Aussies have been before. That's just on the women's side. They've had men as well. So, I mean, didn't put up the biggest stats in round 1, but to be fair, absolutely nobody for Sutherland did. And indeed, not many players in that Sutherland-Penrith game at all did, apart from Jordan Vasquez putting up 14 and 17, I think it was the one of the day. So, yeah. So we'll see how things progress.
And any more news or gossip to wrap up the segment?
No news, no gossip. I'm getting a new basketball jersey from an NBL 1 player. Is that gossip?
Sure, that can be gossip, or maybe that's more personal gossip, but maybe we can hold on to that until it arrives and you can showcase it on air.
I will. I'm counting down the months because that particular team doesn't play up Sutherland or Comets until July.
Okay, that's good. We can hold on to then. We'll hold on to that content till then. And so with that, I will say, swish, it's time for our next segment. Let's go on to our EGG picks of the game of the week for round 2. I have probably earmarked a couple of games so far for round 2. The Manly North matchup for both men and women, but also the Newcastle Albury matchup for both men and women. I feel like in the women's competition, Albury, oh my gosh, absolutely lighting it up in round 1 against Canberra Nationals. What a huge performance from the Lady Bandits in round 1. I feel like they've really already kind of set the tone for their season in round 1. And I think being tested by Newcastle, the reigning champions, in round 2 is going to be a great litmus test for the Albury women's team to see where they're potentially going to fall, or either maybe set a benchmark for where they want to be, or be a good measure of what they might need to improve on to secure top 8. Equally, Newcastle men and Albury men, Newcastle consistently being around that 8th, 9th, 10th place on the ladder for the last couple of seasons. Albury men coming in with a really great young, fresh team that probably didn't have. I mean, they were challenged by playing against a absolute, like, it's very consistent and very reliable Canberra Gunners for their first round. So I think in the men's game for Albury, also a litmus test to see where they can potentially fall top 8 and bottom 8. Are they going to get caught up in that tangle of 8th, 9th, 10th, or are they going to try and turn it around and excel over Newcastle? What do you think? Have you picked a game of the week yet for round 2?
Well, I think Inner West and Hills, their games, because, well, the women got a quarter in and the men haven't even touched the court. So I think, well, Hills Sutherland will be it has the making of a good game. I think Sutherland got over the line against Penrith, but I think Hills will be a tougher test. But Hills don't have a game in. It's one thing. Hills haven't played a game yet, but that means Sutherland have no game film on them. So that goes the same for men and women. And I think this is a good round. This is a good week for Sutherland after losing to Penrith in the women and beating Penrith just in the men. A good litmus test to see exactly where they're at. And you gotta want to watch Matt Gray against Maitland, don't you?
Oh, of course. They've got the double Newcastle and Maitland away. That's pretty.
The distance double.
The distance double. That's pretty tough on Matt Gray going back to Maitland's second round already. But look, you maybe just get it over and done with. Everyone. Well, not everyone, but some people might dread playing against their former club.
I think some people love playing against their former club.
So for women, are you picking Sharks Hills, and for men, are you picking Albury Maitland?
I am picking Albury Maitland. I mean, that'll be a good test to see for both teams. Are Maitland still right up there after their game against Illawarra last week? And for Albury Wodonga, game against Canberra didn't all go to plan, and we'll see if they can. Just a good litmus test for both teams. It's just a good way for everyone to see what kind of level these teams are at. I mean, we got 3 rounds and then an Easter break. So, even if you don't get off to a crash hot start, you want to get at least 1 or 2 wins under the belt, but you've got time to reconvene after these few games. So, we'll just see where these two teams get to.
And while we know that Manly North is always going to be entertaining in both the men's and women's, but I think in the same theme of litmus test and how much value this game can have and perhaps forecast the rest of a season for some teams, I'm going to stick with the Newcastle-Albury matchups in both the men and the women as my personal games of the week for round 2. So watch this space. Actually, we'd love to know what your personal picks for round 2 are. So let us know. Send us a DM on our Instagram page at eScottGame. And remember, you can also follow us now on YouTube and Facebook. But Lockie, it's about that time to get our first interview under the way of 2025. Are you ready?
With who we're interviewing tonight? Oh, I'm ready.
You've been ready for a long time. So, as mentioned, it is now time for our first athlete interview for 2025. And just before I bring this person on, let me just say they're born and bred in Manly. They rose through the ranks of the junior program to become an absolute staple in the starting 5 of an NBL1 women's team. There's someone who can guard 1 to 5 and continues to develop their outside offensive game. Off the court, this player is an elite S&C coach who regularly posts accessible workouts for 64,000 of their followers. You heard that right, 64,000 followers, including some excellent workouts for basketball players, which kind of makes me wish that I was 10 years younger and still playing NBL 1 East now that I have access to this content. Our very special guest today is Josie Bullman. Hey, Josie.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me on here.
Absolutely. We wanted to have you as a guest for so long. And as we do every season, we have a wish list. We surprisingly get most of the wish list. And then we're like, oh, we forgot about all these people. So you were top of the list for 2025. So welcome.
No, thank you. It's awesome. Awesome to be here.
That's great. Now, Lockie, would you like to start off with our number one question, or would you like me to go?
I will start with our most staple of questions, which is, where did your basketball journey begin? I'm guessing it's in Manly?
Yes, definitely in Manly. I have a very wholesome background with basketball. It actually started in my back garden. So I've got two brothers. My older brother started playing basketball when he was like 8 for primary school. And mum and dad bought a basketball hoop, popped it in the garden, and I just couldn't stop playing with it. So from about the age of 5, I started playing basketball with my brothers in the back garden and used to spend hours just out there bouncing the ball, shooting hoops, all of that. I then started playing basketball for school when I was in about year 2 or year 3. And then got picked up by Manly when I was in year 5. So about 17 years ago. Been playing for Manly for 17 years now. And then, just stayed with the club and have loved every second of it.
Well, she's loyal at least with Manly. And now you say you were picked up by Manly in year 5. Does that mean you were scouted, or invited to play reps, or did you go and try out?
No, so I got scouted to try out. So I'm sure you guys know Paula Martin. She used to come around to all of the local comp games and basically just pick out the girls that played local comp back then, because there were very few of us that did. And used to be like, okay, come try out for Manly. And then, tried out and got picked, because otherwise I'd have no idea that rep basketball was a thing. No idea that it was going on. Like, I don't come from a basketball family. Like, my parents never played or anything like that. So if it wasn't for Paula Martin, I wouldn't be here today.
Well, shout out to Paula for her excellent recruiting skills. Because do you know who else she may have recruited from your age group that's still playing with you today?
Probably Kim Hodge. So Kim and I know, amazing. Kim and I actually started playing together when we were in year 5 or year 6 for like a CIS team that plays at all schools. So that's where Kim and I first met. And then I don't know whether it was my mum that convinced her to come and try out for Manly, or whether it was Paula. I don't exactly know the story. But anyway, we managed to get her to Manly for under 14s. And then, she's been at the club ever since as well. So, I think she would be the other person on the team that got picked up by Paula.
2 from 2, Paula, if you ask us. 2 of our favourites as well. So she's doing pretty well.
Yeah, she's doing good things.
So you said, fast forward that 17 years later, as you mentioned. Now, this is your 4th consecutive NBL 1 East season, and your shooting stats have improved overall, and you're certainly being more confident and taking more threes. Do you attribute this to improving your shot technique, just being more confident with your outside game, or do you feel like you're just getting some better opportunities on offense to take more shots?
I think it's probably a combination of all of the above. I actually have to give a lot of credit to my fiance Dre for helping me with my shot. When we first started hanging out, we used to go and get shots up together, and he is an annoyingly good shooter. Won't touch a ball for 6 months, and then we'll go and drain 20 plus threes in a row. That's sort of annoying. And so, when we were getting shots up, I kind of asked for some advice for stuff, and he actually ended up helping with my shot technique a lot. So a lot of confidence in my shot has come from actually just going and getting shots up with him, which is awesome. In terms of opportunities, I feel like I've always had opportunities to shoot threes because I don't shoot them often, so people don't really guard me out there. So I definitely feel like I've got all the opportunity in the world to shoot threes if I want to. But it's definitely something that I'm working on improving and getting more confident and getting more shots up, not only to get points for myself, but also just to spread the floor out a bit more and make us harder to guard as a team.
Locke, have you got any backup questions?
No, because you actually talk with like an enjoyment and a love of shooting, but we know you as, you know, a screener, a rebounder, doing the dirty work. So is that what you enjoy, or you would secretly just, do you want to be like Steph Curry and just shoot it?
Oh no. No, I definitely would not. I would not want to be Steph Curry. Would not want that weight on my shoulder. I'm definitely I enjoy doing all the little dirty things, as you say, that I guess often gets overlooked or other people don't enjoy doing as much. But no, I'm definitely a hustle player, and it definitely gets me fired up on the court, chasing rebounds, hitting screens, playing tough defense. It's definitely what I enjoy most in the game.
Is that something that you were taught growing up, either through parents, local comp, reps at any point?
I think it actually comes down to being the only girl on a team in primary school was a little bit challenging at times. Unfortunately, you didn't get past the ball as much sometimes. You kind of got neglected here and there. And so I think I learned at a young age that if I wanted to get involved in the game, I had to go and get involved in the game. I had to do little things. I had to get rebounds. I had to, get stops on defense, because the boys necessarily weren't going to pass me the ball, even if I was open on offense. So I think it kind of stemmed from there. I also think my more aggressive style of play at times does come from playing basketball with my brothers for years. We used to go at each other in the back garden. And so, yeah, I think it stems from a combination of those two things.
Toughness is built in the backyard playing with your siblings, who are always going to be your toughest competitors, right? There's no referee. There's no mum or dad to referee. You just have to fend for yourself when you're playing in those situations.
Yeah, 100%.
I think even some professional siblings like the Frolings even started in the backyard playing against each other.
Well, you're most competitive against your siblings. Like there's no love lost out there.
And do your siblings still play themselves, or do they come and watch you play now?
So my older brother stopped playing after high school. He moved to Newcastle and was studying medicine, so that was kind of a bit all-consuming for him. My younger brother is actually really a bit of a sad story. He used to play Manly reps, but then he did his ACL when he was in year 7, and that took him out for a number of years. And then his first basketball trial back, he did his ACL again. So his career was kind of cut a bit short due to that, but he still comes and watches all my games, which is really nice. He's still involved in the club. He coaches like the local comp teams, and sometimes comes in the scrimmages with us on a Sunday. We do like a club run around in the off season. So he's involved and amongst it. But yeah, his rep career was cut short, unfortunately, just because of some injuries.
Yeah, that's a real shame, but it's nice that he still comes to support you and is still involved in the club in some way. I guess that's a good thing of basketball, is that if your playing career is cut short for whatever reason, there's other ways to stay involved in the game. You don't have to be gone forever.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, look at me and Lockie. We just like to sit and chat now.
My basketball career ended when I was 9.
You peaked, and then maybe you just ended on a high. You just like stopped against, you got ahead of the trend.
I mean, just like you, Josie, I started my basketball career in primary school. Unfortunately, that's also where it ended.
Well, maybe you wouldn't be here if things had gone differently. So maybe it's a blessing in disguise.
That's right.
Yeah, maybe you'd be at the NBA, Lockie. And...
yeah.
And oh yeah, so you mentioned that some of the facets of the game you like the most are all of those really tough things. So, but what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned from being a basketball player? You know, your toughness on court or your work ethic when you're in your downtime to play your best on court. What are some of those lessons that through being a basketball player you're able now to transfer into your everyday life?
I think one of the biggest lessons, and it's probably not anything to do with actually being on the court, but the importance and just the value of having a really good community around you. Like, I love my club. I'm so grateful for them being there throughout, you know, the 17 years I've been there. They've always been a great support network. I love the girls I play with. They're some of my best friends. I can honestly say they're some of my best friends. And I'm just so grateful that I've been able to experience that and have these relationships and connections through basketball. So I think that's probably the most important thing it's taught me, is the importance of community and support networks around you. In terms of on-court lessons I've learned, I think the biggest one is team success feels so much better than individual success. So even if things aren't going your way, if your team's doing really well, getting around them and supporting them is super important, because you never feel, if you have an amazing game yourself and you lose the game, you're always going to feel crappy. If you don't have the best game in the world, but your team does an amazing job and you win, you're always going to feel so much better. So I think that was an important lesson that I've learnt. Another one I'd say is just delayed gratification. Hard work does pay off, but sometimes it's slow to pay off. And just knowing that, you know, you might not be thinking that all the effort you're putting in now is doing anything, but, you know, 6 months down the track or a year down the track, like, you will look back and be like, wow, I have made a lot of progress. Whether that's improving your shot, whether that's getting faster on the court, or whatever your goals are. It may not seem like you're making progress when you're actually putting in the work, but look back a year, 2 years, or however long, you'll be able to see that you have actually made a lot of progress, which I think is a good lesson to learn.
And is that a long-term achievement? Is that something that part of the reason that going into strength and conditioning appealed to you?
So strength and conditioning has been something that I've loved forever, like for as long as I remember. I remember being in high school and people asking what you wanted to do, all of this, and I was like, look, my dream job would be to be a personal trainer. I went to a selective academic school, so I felt compelled to try different avenues first, just because the environment I was in wasn't super supportive of going down like the fitness route as a career. But I've always been in love with the gym. It's my one true love, other than my fiance, but it's been a constant in my life. And I think, I can't remember a time where I wasn't interested in working in that sort of field. But yeah, I think I love the gym for a lot of other reasons other than that. I just think it's so important for physical and mental well-being, and I think it improves, you know, it's never going to be a detriment in your life, and it's always going to serve at some sort of give some sort of benefit to what you're doing.
And what so like how soon or at what age did you start to kind of get in the gym yourself as part of your overall health and well-being, let alone improving your performance on the basketball court? Like, what was your gateway into it?
So my mum was my gateway. So she used to go to like pump classes and stuff at Fitness First. And I just always wanted to tag along. So on weekends, you could bring your kids in for free. So I used to go on the weekends. I used to do pump class with mum. Used to go to cycle studio and do cycle classes with mum. So that's kind of where I got into the gym. So that would have been about 13, 14. And then I didn't really get into the sort of training I'm doing now until I was about 20, 21. But it started off when I was, about 13, 14.
Because you create some really great content on your social media platform, mostly Instagram. It's at Josie Bullman Fitness. Is that your?
It's just
what's
at
your
Josie
handle?
Bullman is my handle, just at Josie Bullman. Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, you create some really great content. It's very easy to follow. It's very clear instruction. And I think sometimes when it's presented to be so easy and achievable, that certainly is going to spark motivation in people to go and want to try it, right?
Yeah.
So was your initial, like when you started your social media content, was it initially just to try and share information with others or to share information with some of your teammates? Like how did it start? And did you expect it to snowball to 64,000 followers?
No, so that kind of happened pretty quickly. So I have worked in fitness for quite a long time now. And I initially just started doing general population stuff. So I was a personal trainer and group fitness instructor. I'd done a sports and exercise science degree, but I had chosen not to use it and not work with athletes, but go into just general population training. And so that's when I started posting on social media, because as a self-employed personal trainer, social media really helps you gain clients, even within just the own gym you're working at. If members of that gym follow you on social media, they're more likely to hire you as a personal trainer in that gym setting. So that's how it first started. I think I worked with general population for 3 years before deciding that I wanted to go back to working with athletes. So I enrolled in my Masters of High Performance Sport, and I did my ASCA Level 1 and started posting basketball specific content using the knowledge I got from my undergrad degree, my postgraduate, and then my ASCA. And that's kind of where it started to snowball when I made that switch to, the basketball specific stuff.
I don't think people realize as well how much effort and time how much effort and time it takes to make content either. Because sometimes people will even say to us, are like, oh, you should do more TikToks, or you should do more this. And I was like, you want to pay my 9 to 5? I ain't got time. I need to sleep and I need to eat. I ain't got time to make you TikToks. So give us a rough idea of, say, for example, like what is your typical day or week in planning when you want to make a workout for content?
So I've gotten pretty efficient. I am very grateful that I had those 3 years of not doing basketball specific stuff to kind of get used to making content. But I must admit, I actually don't plan my content. I'm very film it on the day, make it on the day, post it on the day. So like a typical day for me, I will get up, go to work. I work at a private school and I do their strength and conditioning program there. I'll do that in the morning, come back, go to the gym, film what I'm doing at the gym, have a couple of hours. I'll do uni, edit content, go back to work in the afternoon, and then go to training in the evening. So that's kind of how the day is structured. And
girl, you got to sleep and eat. You got to sleep and eat too. Remember, I'm whinging about my 9 to 5 job and trying to make a TikTok around eating and sleeping, and your schedule sounds hectic.
No, it's all right. I've gotten I enjoy the holidays. School holidays are a great time for me. But yeah, I've definitely got I've got it pretty down packed when it comes to content efficiency. Don't muck around. I get it done.
Oh, that is admirable. You might have to teach us offline one day.
And you've got another trainer in your import, Taylor.
Yes.
So it's Manly women this year just going to be the fittest team we've ever seen?
I think it's going to be a strong team. Yeah, she's incredible. She's so talented. She's so lovely. She's a beast. She's strong. We have fun going against each other at training, boxing each other out and all of that. So yeah, it's going to be really good.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about what we can expect from Manly this season. Manly women's program particularly have always been high achievers. Always, I'm pretty confident making top 4 at least the last 3 seasons.
Yeah, 4. I actually can't remember if it's 4 or 3. Definitely 3.
Yeah, at least the last 3 seasons. Yeah. So certainly high standard, high caliber, high consistency. I can imagine we're expecting more of the same from Manly, but is there anything else that we can expect to look out for, especially now that you've got the new import you just mentioned?
I think it's great that we've all been playing for so long together because, like you said, we're a very high-achieving group of girls. Not much changes from year to year because we've all been playing together for so long. We kind of can seamlessly go into a new season without having to revisit too many things. So I don't think it's going to be too dissimilar to what we saw last season. Obviously, Taylor is a great addition to the team, but we've also lost Bree Delaney this season. So we haven't really been able to take advantage of both of them being there at the same time. So we're definitely going to miss Bree, but Taylor is going to be an awesome defensive and offensive addition to our team. And so our style of play is going to be pretty similar to every other year. We play fast, we play small, apart from Brooke last year. But as a general theme, a general trend, we play small and fast. And so, yeah, it's going to be very similar to the previous years, and it's going to be lots of fun.
And you get a full season of Honey Badger, Kim Hodge.
Yes, we do, which is also very exciting. And yes, we definitely missed her last season. It was great that she could come back for the finals. We were very fortunate that we could have her at the end, but it would be nice to have her for a whole season. That's for sure.
And I think sometimes as well, when you're in such a great team that are performing consistently well, sometimes it's like hard to pick from the outside what are the things that you actually might need to improve on, or the little kind of 1%ers to give you the edge to get to the grand final or to win the grand final that you've been so close to doing the last 3 seasons. What do you think it's going to be in 2025 that really takes Manly to the championship?
I think for us, the biggest thing is holding each other accountable and not being lazy during the season. I think we can get away with playing a little bit undisciplined basketball at times when we're versing other teams and not really focusing on the detail. And when we get to the games where it matters, we haven't got everything down packed, or we're not used to performing under pressure, or we don't have that go-to person who, okay, you need to go and you need to make a bucket and make your own shot and get us a score. So I think for us, it's going to be dealing with pressure and, yeah, just staying super disciplined throughout the season, regardless of what the scoreboard is showing, and just making sure that we're, dotting our I's and crossing our T's throughout the whole season.
Yeah, I used to have a coach in under 18s who introduced the idea that you do need to play at your highest level and your highest standard every single game, regardless of opponent. You can't just turn on your performance on and off like a tap for those exact reasons, as you said, because the times when it comes down to end of the season, finals time, pressure situations, you're always going to be prepared. It's not like, under a pressure situation, we got to find a score. And you can't just find a way. You have to put in that hard work of beating teams by 50, 60 points by playing at your best. But it means that later when you're playing the harder games, it's going to be like automatic.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, fingers crossed we can do it this season, because it's our core group that have been together for so long. There's only so many more years that we're probably all going to be together. So I think a lot of us are like, we really want to get it done this season as a group, just because we've been so close so many years, and we all really, really want to say that we did it. And we're kind of running out of years to be able to do it with everyone. So fingers crossed we can do it this year.
It's a dynasty. It's been turning into a dynasty, this age group, this
It
group
is.
of girls.
It is.
Now, Lockie, I'm conscious that I am taking up a lot of airtime here with Josie. So sure, welcome to
It's fine.
to bump in with any additional questions, information, queries, or would you like to do the last question with Josie?
I would like to. I'll say this in the context of the French national basketball team, because I think what you're saying is a lot as I've heard them described by Paul Nilsson from FIBA, who said that the French national team was a lot like a Volkswagen in that they were operationally sound, but they could be a Ferrari in that they need to find, a go-to, a spark to absolutely fly. Who do you think on your roster is best positioned to turn your team from a Volkswagen into a Ferrari?
See, this is that's a really tough question because everybody has got different strengths and everybody brings something to the team. On Kim's night, Kim can hit tough shots and can really make things happen. On Alex's night, she can hit tough shots and find awesome passes. Zoe's night, she's an amazing playmaker and will always find the right pass and play amazing defense and also make incredible finishes. And I've only played a couple of games with Taylor, but you can see she can create her own shot out of nothing. She's also a great passer. And yeah, so I honestly think, and it's part of our weaknesses, it's a strength, but it's also a weakness of ours that we don't have like a Nicole Munger where it's like, here's the ball, like you are our girl, because we all bring something to the team. So I think the answer to that is it just depends on the game and who's playing well and who can get it done that day. But I think everybody needs to be ready to be that person if it is their day.
I mean, I think you brought up Zoe. I mean, who could forget her game up in Newcastle just in the fourth quarter where she just went off?
Yeah. Right. She's something else. Like, I think everyone is an offensive threat on our team, and everyone can be that girl. I think it just depends on the game, and it depends on who's playing well, but they just have to be ready to be that person.
And if they ever need someone to get 9 offensive rebounds, you can do that like you did to us last year.
Yes, I'll clean up the mess for them.
Great question, Lockie. Very good. Nice little hidden nugget you had there. Similarly, who would you say is, Lockie asked about the spark, but who would you say is the glue of the team, the one person that can kind of tie everyone together when you're under pressure?
I would say that would probably come between Alex, Zoe, and I. The position I play is very glue-like just in terms of the way our offense works. In terms of reversing the ball and, setting screens and flowing into offense in transition. So I feel like I definitely play a role in terms of connecting both sides of the court and bringing the team's offense together. Zoe is the point guard. She's obviously massive glue player. She gets us all in the right spots and tells us what to do and makes sure everyone's doing what they're meant to be doing. And then, Alex has just got vet energy. Her passing's incredible. She's great at keeping everyone calm. And great at just making stuff happen on the court and making everyone around her better. So I think, that would be my answer.
And I am conscious of your time as well, Josie. So we'll ask our final question. We like to bookend our questions with athlete interviews. It always starts with, how did your basketball journey begin? And it always ends with, who is Josie Bullman off the court? So other than what you're doing at S&C, business and content creating, what do you like to do in your spare time? What's your downtime? What are your other interests? Tell us about that.
Yes, I am pretty fortunate that I have turned my one main hobby into my job. So outside of studying and work and training and basketball, I don't have heaps of spare time. And I am a very simple person. Like, I love going for walks and coffee dates with my friends, reading a book by the beach. I'm obsessed with fantasy TV shows, so I'm enjoying Wheel of Time at the moment. I don't know if you guys have watched that or you're interested in that, but I'm really enjoying that. I love my New York Times and Sydney Morning Herald puzzles. Yeah, I'm very simple, very simple. Enjoy, good food, good drinks, good company. And yeah, that's about it.
Did you solve the connections puzzle today with all the symbols? Because I've only got the yellow category so far.
Yes, I did. No, I did. I do it with Dre. Dre and I do it together. And I am always annoyed when it is a symbols one. I'm always like, I'm like, why are you messing with my routine here? But no, we did solve it together. But we have shared minds working on it, so it is a lot easier. But yes.
Yeah, I try and do Wordle every day. I think I must have missed a day last week because my streak is now only back to 1, so that's annoying.
That is annoying.
But it's the one way I communicate with my mum every day, is we send each other's Wordle scores.
No, I love that. I love that.
She usually wins.
Yeah. No, I like to think. Yeah. No, sorry.
Yeah. No, you go. You keep going.
Oh, I was going to say, I like to think that my Wordle success is to do with me, but Dre is a massive help with all of the puzzles. It's nice. It's something we do together every morning, and it's just nice quality time together before the day starts, which is good.
Yeah, it's a good way to start the day. I agree. I try and do it just before I get my work brain operating. I think it probably is almost like a behavioral activation activity that kind of gets me going. Yeah.
So it's Sudokus on the train for me, like really weird Sudokus on the train. That's my thing.
Yeah, no, they're good. I like them too. And the Ken-Kens, they're good too.
I love the Ken-Ken.
Yeah. Great, we're all geeks. Love it.
Of course we are. Basketball's the one thing that keeps us moderately cool and have some kind of street cred in society. It's just basketball. Everything else, we're geeks.
Yeah, 100%. Can relate.
Yeah. Well, Josie, all we have left in our show is our All-Star 5. Now, you're welcome to stick around if you want, but understandably, you're a very busy gal with very little downtime. So if you also want to exit, that's also okay. We'll leave it up to you.
I'll stick around.
Very, very nice. We sometimes like to do our All-Star 5 while the guest is here and get their 2 cents. So it's great that you can stick around a little bit longer. Lockie, would you like to go first with your men's All-Star 5?
Yes, I would, because I still have the graphic on my screen. What's very, very tough. It's always tough. I mean, because it's a minimum of 8 games, and it would have been 9 if not for the court at Sydney Uni. So a couple of players I had close to making it were obviously Charlie Macbeth was very close for his 21 against North. Coben McDowell-White and Clara Samir also put in good shifts. But we'll go from the top, of course. Can't go past Todd Blanchfield, 31 and 16 plus 5 blocks against the defending champions. Just outstanding performance on his debut in NBL 1 East. Next up, Hunter Goodrick had 24 points and 15 rebounds in that game against Bankstown, had 5 steals, would have had a lot more assists if any of the more of the North players could have hit a 3. Played not a solo hand, but definitely a really good performance in an otherwise beaten side. Garrick Young stepping up from Waratah League. It was basically between him and his teammate Clarence Amir for the final spot. But with 15 points and 10 rebounds, those defensive stats, 5 blocks and 4 steals, just put him over the top. For Comets, Anthony Mundine III. Now, he played all 40 minutes of this win over Newcastle. So in a team with Obi Che and Vili Fiketti and Johnny Syndergaard, it was Anthony Mundine who, played the full 40 minutes, really put the team on his back. And 23 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, a couple of steals, 5 of 12 from 3-point range, and got Comets over the line. I won't say it was no Wally, no worries, but as they wait for Bawali Bales to return from Switzerland, Anthony Mundine was able to get his team over the line. And then Will Mayfield, well, it could have been him. It could have been Glenn Morrison. It could have been one of those other players I mentioned, but 23 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, 5 of 9 from 3-point range, put Aubrey Wodonga away to the tune of 96-75. So there we have it, the first men's All-Star 5 of the season.
Very good. What's your takeaway, Josie, with this All-Star 5? Anyone surprising you, or is it a pretty expected kind of All-Star 5 for round 1?
Yeah, no surprises here. Like you said, it's only been 1 week, so it's kind of hard to suss out everything. But look, all those stat lines are incredible. So I'd have them in an All-Star 5 for sure.
And what I think I like the most about a lot of the players featured in the All-Star 5 is their shooting was a relatively high percentage. I mean, Mayfield was 5 from 9 from the 3-point line, and 50% overall. Mundine looked like he was just under 50%. Blanchfield 50%. Like that's incredible. That's when you're really starting to become elite, when you can get 31 points, 16 rebounds, and shoot at 50%. All right, over to the women's All-Star 5. Last minute change, given that the North's women's stats were unavailable.
And we're going to reveal who just missed out because I forgot to change Carla Pittman's photo in. Because I did it because someone changed their All-Star 5 with 10 minutes to go till the show.
Yes, that was me. I take full responsibility. However, I'm going to pass the blame on to whatever happened on the NBL1 website, because the North women's stats for the Bankstown game were unavailable. But other social media outlets like NBL1 East and even the Sydney Flames posted Carla Pittman's stats online. And I was like, well, how did you get them? How come we can't get them? So once I learnt her stats, she made the switch. But yes, so first honourable mention is to Meg Jefferson, playing now for the Newcastle Falcons, who had 22 and 11 on debut for the Falcons versus the Sydney Comets, and she shot at 44% overall. And also just missing out was Sataya Fagan from the COE, who had 20 and 10 versus Manly on the weekend, shooting at 50%. She balled out against Manly on the weekend, Josie.
Yes, she did. She had an awesome game. She is so athletic and so long. She's absolutely incredible, and she's so young. She's going to be so good as she gets older. She's already so amazing.
Yeah, she is super long. She has incredible length to complement her other attributes already.
Yeah.
But yes, leading at the top, I've put Leilani Mitchell, despite the loss to Hornsby Coringa this weekend from the Central Coast Crusaders. She had 22 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, shooting at 8 and 15 overall, including 6 3-pointers. Then we had Carla Pittman from North, who was the late replacement, with 25 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 steals against the Bankstown Bruins. And then it's none other than the Honey Badger herself, Kimberly Dickinson from Manly-Warringah, 25 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 10 from 13 from the field against the COE. Josie, I'm guessing it was Kimberly's turn to have a big game in round 1.
Yeah, she had an awesome game. Super high scoring. It was actually pretty low number of field goal attempts for Kim. She usually sits around like the 16 plus mark field goal attempts, but she was super efficient, obviously. And yeah, she just absolutely balled out, which was awesome, especially seeing as last season she wasn't able to play for a number of games because she was injured. It was so good for her to come back and have just an amazing game one. So yeah, I think she's going to be going into this season with a lot of well-earned confidence, which is awesome.
Yeah, she's definitely well and truly back with that stat line in round one. So excited for the rest of the season for Honey Badger. And now the next two players are two players that I'm looking forward to you matching up against in the season, Josie. We first got Sydney Hunter from Maitland Mustangs with 28 points, 13 rebounds, shooting at 13 from 19 overall. So another very high clip in NBL 1 East in round one. And finally, we have Nicole Munger from the Newcastle Falcons. Now, 18 points may seem conservative for Munger, but it's still outstanding compared to everyone else. But it was everything else that she did as well. It was the 13 rebounds, the 6 assists, and the 5 steals in a win against Sydney Comets. So am I safe to say that the likes of Hunter and Munger are two of your favorite people to match up against, Josie?
Nicole is always such a challenge. It's one of those things where you're annoyed she scored on you, but you're also like, wow, that was incredible. So it's always fun playing against Nicole. And yeah, it was a shame I didn't get to match up against Sydney Hunter last year because I think she was injured or sick or something whenever we matched up against Maitland. So it'll be fun to match up against her this season for sure.
Very good. Yeah, that we're going to be keen for those matchup as well as the season goes on. It's just a collective of our favorite players in similar positions with similar skill sets. It's just fun for us to watch.
Yeah.
And
just
back to Fagan, Satya Fagan. 18 Power 5 scholarship offers, including 5 of this year's Elite 8.
Yeah,
sorry,
that's
that's
incredible.
A little bit for me, but that's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give us a couple of the college names that she's got offers for, because I can't remember. I've seen it online.
UCLA, South Carolina, Texas, LSU, Louisville, Michigan, North Carolina.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
She's
cream
incredible.
of the crop. Yeah.
Even playing against her this year compared to last year, like she's just improved so much in the space of however many months. So just think about what she's going to be able to do when she actually gets to college. It'll be exciting to watch.
I selfishly hope she goes to South Carolina. I think she would be the first Aussie to be part of that program. And like the history of the program, the coaching staff of the program, like that would be a very, very tempting offer to take. And then because the transfer portal has become basically trade season now, I don't think she'd have any trouble transferring out if she needed to. Very exciting. Oh, well, I'm just going to play this sound. Probably should have given you a warning. The sound of the buzzer means it is the end of our episode. I thought I'd test that out. I don't think I like it. I don't think I'll do it again. But Josie, thanks again for being our very first guest for the 2025 season. As we mentioned earlier, it's probably well and truly overdue. And we wish you and the Manly-Warringah Sea Eagles the best of luck for this season, hoping that we can get the chip this year.
Yes, no, thank you so much for the chat, guys. Appreciate it and appreciate you both. And yes, fingers crossed we can get it done. Thank you so much.
No worries. And just a final reminder to our loyal listeners that you can follow us on Instagram at eScottGame. Remember, our DMs are open if you have any intel from around the league, if you have any suggestions of who you'd like as a guest. And also a reminder, we have a YouTube channel also at eScottGame. Hit the subscribe button. We are living in the delulu that we can get to 1,000 subscribers so we can start getting some dollars from those Google ads. I don't know if it's really Delulu. I think we can get there one day. We just got to have some faith. But yeah, hit that subscribe button and never miss a beat, never miss an episode from East Scott Game. But for now, what do we like to say, Lockie?
Don't sleep on the East.